Good morning, Oakcrest, and welcome back to your daily morning show. Today on the program, we're going to be talking a little more seriously about a topic that affects our seniors as well as seniors throughout the country, which is depression and suicide. A little over a week ago, the news broke of the death of Robin Williams, famed actor and comedian. A couple hours later, the news was released that it was due to an apparent suicide, and that he had actually been dealing with a depression in a variety of ways and due to a variety of factors. Now, depression can hit anybody, and it can be something that you may not even notice in someone else until it's too late. So we want to give you the opportunity to ID some things that could be causes of depression and what could be signs of suicide. To talk to us today about this is our manager of the social work department, Ms. Maureen Hulse. Maureen, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
Now, this is a very serious discussion, and it's something that I think a lot of people, like any serious discussion, may want to avoid. But it's something that needs to be faced because knowing this information could help you save someone's life down the road, or even just help someone deal with depression. I want to talk a little bit about you first. I know you're relatively new to the manager position at social work, but you're not relatively new to Oakcrest. Can you tell us a little bit more about your history here at the community?
Yes, sure. I have been an Oakcrest social worker for 13 years.
Congratulations.
And I love working with our seniors. I feel very blessed to be able to work in a community that has so many resources for our seniors. And I'm so glad that you're bringing this topic to light, because it is one that people tend to suffer with behind closed doors because of humility, or being a little bit embarrassed, or not wanting to open up to someone about these feelings that they might be having. And I would love to get into the discussion to talk to our seniors about all of the wonderful opportunities and support systems you have while living at Oakcrest here.
Right. And, we've kind of discussed it before and talked about the fact that, with something like suicide and depression more so, a lot of our residents grew up in a generation where mental health was even less recognized than it is now. And diseases like depression were not acknowledged. It was just, it was upset. It was, I was having a bad day. I was having a bad week. And we really want our residents to recognize that this is a legit issue, that if they're feeling these feelings, they need to talk to someone.
Absolutely. I feel like a lot of our seniors grew up in a generation where it could have been taboo to talk about being sad or depressed or having anxious feelings. So thankfully, our society has moved forward with recognizing that these are real problematic issues that are happening in our brain chemistries that we can actually help people relieve themselves of and give them the coping strategies to learn how to deal with those feelings that they're having.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about that. Depression can be brought on by so many different things, whether it be related to medication, health concerns. But one of the biggest ones that differentiates seniors from other generational populations is causes or outside factors that could influence them. Can you talk a little bit more about some of the things that seniors may not realize could be causing, this buildup of depression? Right.
A phrase that comes to mind that I often hear about from seniors is, boy, growing older doesn't come easy. And we know that as a population of staff members that have chosen this career path to work with our seniors because we care about them, we love them, we have compassion for them, we want to help them deal with the numerous changes they are facing every day as we grow older. One of the biggest thing, and there are things that are happening beyond your control. The idea is to develop coping mechanisms in order to handle these changes that are being thrown at them. And the different significant life changes that our seniors are dealing with are, number one, health problems.
Of course.
Of course, there's illness and disability, new diagnoses that are happening. There's pain, severe or chronic pain that can cause depression, a cognitive decline, some memory loss that might be occurring, and even a recent surgery can cause depression.
Right.
Another significant life change is losing friends in a social network, friends that might pass away or relocate to live near family as they age, dealing with those deaths and living alone and your social circle becoming smaller and smaller. The loss of driving privileges is a big one that causes isolation and loneliness.
A big thing I've heard a lot that has come out recently with the death of Robin Williams is that he had survivor's guilt because he had 3 very close friends, fellow actors and comedians that had passed away, and he felt like there was something he could have done to help. Or even, survivor's guilt can not even just be, I could have done something to prevent this, but it almost could be just, why do I deserve to be here when they're not? And it's something that you need to realize that there's a reason why you're here, there's a plan and all of that. And, so it's something to look at. But continue with what you were saying, though.
Well, with seniors, too, there can be a lot of fear of the unknown about aging and what is to come down the road, the fear of death or dying, or anxiety over financial issues, or anxiety or depression over health issues. Right. Recent bereavement is another change in that you may be dealing with. The loss of a spouse, the loss of friends, the loss of a loved one, a pet even. And another thing we see across the board with seniors is a reduced sense of purpose. Retirement can cause some depression. Somebody might not feel as important anymore. There might be a loss of ability to do something they loved, like gardening, because of physical limitations. It's just a real sense of loss of feeling like I have a purpose here.
Yeah, you look at something that you've been doing long term, like a career, and going 50, 60 years having done that job, and then all of a sudden having to retire, whether it be forced retirement or whether it be something that you chose.
Right.
You could look at this and you're working for so many years that you're like, I just need a break. And then just having that lack of activity. And that's why one of the things we do here at Oakcrest is we constantly push for people to join groups and activities and organizations and volunteer opportunities.
Yes.
And it's a big thing to push. And I don't want anyone to think that, I'm pitching this as kind of an Oakcrest and Erickson communities are great. I mean, I really want people to realize that you don't have to suffer through that loss of purpose. You can find a new purpose. You can find something that you're even better at than you were at your career. So it's good to hear.
Yes, very important.
So looking ahead, these are, like I said, with seniors, this is something that is they deal with that maybe other age groups aren't as common to deal with. I mean, loss of purpose, yes, you're probably going to end up with some people due to physical limitations, they're not going to be able to experience, hobbies that they used to or careers. But, a lot of these things, looking at them, it's not going to hit all of them at once. With our seniors, it's specific because you're not looking at just medical ailments. You're not looking at just loss of purpose. You're not looking at just fears. You're looking at a whole combination of these things hitting in a very close span of time.
Yes, exactly. So again, I will plug Oakcrest for these residents because I want them to know how fortunate they are to have all of these clinical services right at their fingertips. And we are ready, willing, and wanting to help someone who might be suffering with these issues in their life, and just so that they know this is a safety net for you, a whole staff across the campus.
Right. I can tell you from personal experience that while I was trying to prepare for this show, I one day we were talking, I was like, who would be best to bring on the show? I said, Maureen will be great because she's the head of the social work department. And then my coworker, Stephanie, pointed out, she goes, well, did you know we had a mental health department? I've worked here for 7 years and I didn't know it existed.
Yes.
And I got a hold of Lisa Burke, who works in our mental health department, and talked to her a little bit more. Unfortunately, she couldn't join us today due to the last minute nature of this program. But, she does want to say that she's happy to help our residents in any way that she can. That all they have to do is give a call to her. And real quick, I want to take a second and point out that if you're interested in any of the services that Oakcrest provides through our medical center, specifically the mental health services, there is a phone number you can call. It's 410-882-3240. Once again, 410-882-3240. 3240. You can call that. It's our medical center. You can set up an appointment with our mental health clinicians and get the opportunity to, just talk it out with somebody and find out, is this chemically induced? Is this something that I'm just experiencing because of all these life-altering changes, in a sense? So I wanted to plug that in there now that we're kind of touching on that a little bit.
Sure.
But, you mentioned to me that, it's not just these life-altering changes that can be it. A lot of people don't recognize that medications are a big one, I mean, just kind of looking at, what it is that can cause those sorts of things. So can you talk a little bit more about some medications that might cause this?
Of course. What will happen, you can always feel a sense of confidentiality in seeking out your primary care physician here at the medical center. What you say to him or her will be in confidence, and if you give him signs and symptoms that you may be experiencing, the first thing our doctors will do is take a look at the medication regimen that someone is on, because some medications can cause depression. Where they may be helping one issue medically, it may be causing another issue. That doesn't mean you should go off of that other medication, but it just means we need to be alerted to make sure we address the depression or anxiety that might be, being experienced because of medications. The next thing that the doctors will do is look at, the medical history of someone.
Right.
Some diseases will actually go hand in hand with depression and anxiety. The disease may cause some depression or anxiety. So again, we can treat the disease, but we can also treat the depression and anxiety. I would love to talk a little more about the signs and symptoms of depression.
Definitely, because I mean, we've kind of come to the realization, one of the leading causes of suicide is depression, and that's where we're seeing people who deal with this disease on a day in and day out basis. And you look at someone and I don't want to keep calling back to it, but Robin Williams, he was such a happy-go-lucky person. Every time you saw him, he was so boundless and full of energy. And then to find out how broken he was and how much he was hurting, I mean, it's amazing to see. But there are some things that even in someone like that, you can see the signs and symptoms. So tell us a little bit more about some of the things that we can look for depression.
Yes. Well, I have my list here because I truly don't want to miss anything, so that our residents know what to look for. A certain overall sadness that just continues more than a week, just an overall sadness. Fatigue is another sign or symptom. Unexplained aggravated aches and pains is a symptom. Loss of interest in hobbies or socially isolating yourself, not feeling like you want to leave the condominium and go to the dining room. You'd prefer to be alone. A loss of appetite or weight loss. Irritability is a big one, especially, it may not be seen as depression by most people, but it is a very big sign of depression, especially in the male population. Men, sometimes feel like they can't cry, as females, can openly do so, but men become angry and agitated and irritated.
Because that's how they're almost dealing with that depression in a sense. It's not necessarily that maybe the irritability, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's not so much that the irritability is the depression, but it's their way of coping.
Yes, it's a sign of it. It's a sign of something deeper. Neglecting personal hygiene, someone who might, have showered every day, maybe skips a couple of days just because there's a lack of initiative there. Sleep disturbances, either difficulty falling asleep or difficulty staying asleep once you do fall asleep. Someone who has experienced a lot of sleepiness, oversleepy during the daytime hours, could be a sign of depression. The loss of self-worth, feeling like, worrying that I'm a burden to my family or I'm a burden to my friends, and just that overall feeling of worthlessness. Increased use of alcohol is a sign that we look for, or use of some kind of drug. And also, of course, a fixation on or thoughts of suicide or death. So those are some real red flags that you might want to talk to your physician about.
And the big thing to kind of keep in mind is that with a lot of these symptoms, some specifically looking at your sadness, your fatigue, things like that, it's a normal part of life to be sad. It's a normal part of life to have those ups and downs. When you're looking at somebody who, what I've heard is that the two biggest warning signs are if you see somebody who has way more down than up,
yes,
is one. And the second is if you start to see somebody who has really drastic changes. It's not a gradual happier and then sadder and then happy. It's, you're seeing really steep changes in them. Those are really big things because we don't want people to think that just because you're having one bad day, it's a sign of depression. If you start feeling it for like a week at a time, then that's when you want to start or even, a week might even be long. 2 to 3 days could be something where if you're really down in the dumps and there's no real clear indicator as to why, could be a good sign that you might want to consult a physician, and they can point you to the proper channels, whether that be through medication with antidepressants or whether or not you're going to have them direct you to a mental health clinician.
Yes, for talk therapy and learning new strategies and how to cope with these feelings in a healthy way. We want to ensure that our seniors are living the best quality of life possible. That's all we want when we're working here. And we have so many skills and tools that can help them live the best quality of life. I don't want seniors just to think they can only go to their physicians either. We have a whole team of licensed clinical social workers across the continuum: independent living, assisted living, and long-term care and rehab. We are trained professionals in screening for depression and anxiety. In confidence, again, you can certainly seek out your social worker in your community to be screened for signs and symptoms of depression. And she will help you, connect with the services available here that can really hone in and help you with this.
Right. And the one other thing to keep in mind, while we're giving out phone numbers, don't forget the social workers are always available. It's tough for us to kind of list off the various social workers and what buildings they're responsible for, but Maureen mentioned to me before the show, you can always call 665-1000, 410-665-1000, which is the Oakcrest general line. We'll connect you to one of our front desk attendants and just tell them what building you're a part of, and they can direct you to the right social worker. So like I said, we're kind of throwing a lot of phone numbers. 410-665-1000 is always a good one to call if you're trying to contact anyone within Oakcrest, because our wonderful communication specialists can always point you to the right person as well. So it's something good to keep in mind, because you're right. Sometimes you want to go to the doctor and sometimes you just want to check with a social worker. So it's good to know that they're both available.
Yes, of course. And I would love to just speak about the self-help for depression. There's definitely a lot of ways that people can help lift themselves out of these feelings that they might find themselves stuck with. Number one, getting enough sleep is very important for emotional well-being. Exercise daily. Connecting with others, which certainly is not a problem here at Oakcrest. We have a beautiful social atmosphere here, and so many group activities and ways to volunteer your time. Maintaining a healthy diet, eating meals with others, taking care of a pet. We're a pet-friendly atmosphere here. Learning a new skill and creating opportunities to laugh, and by either watching or reading a comedy or just getting together with friends for dinner and having a good laugh. All of those things can help lift your spirits.
Right, and it's something great to keep in mind, because if you're concerned, there's so many people out there that might say, I'm not depressed. I'm just having a bad day. I'm just having a bad week. I'm just having a bad month. I'm just having a bad year. When you start to make those excuses, that's when you're putting yourself at risk.
Yes.
Because you're looking at something and downplaying the severity of it.
Yes.
And when you do that, you're going to convince yourself, and you're going to make yourself believe that, and you're not going to realize you're wrong until it's too late. And we don't want to see that. And it's a good thing to keep in mind with your friends and neighbors as well. If you start to see these symptoms in people, please talk to them. And if you see, if they are sitting here and they're expressing signs of depression, don't hesitate to contact a social worker or someone within the community that can help you. Contact your personal social worker here at Oakcrest, and they can point people in the right direction. You know, we want to make sure people are healthy and that they're good. And I know the one thing that you were real big to push with our residents was, if at any point in time somebody mentions suicide or not wanting to live anymore or wanting to kill themselves, please pick up a phone, call someone. If it's during, you know, the hours that our Oakcrest social workers and medical professionals are here, call the medical center and point it out. It's better to be safe than sorry.
Yes.
And the one other phone number that we really want to give out to people is the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. If you or someone you know, you have any concern that they're going to be committing suicide or that they might hurt themselves, please call this number. It's right there at the bottom of your screen, 1-800-273-8255. Once again, 1-800-273-8255. This is open 24 hours a day. It gives you the opportunity to talk to somebody. You know, if you are worried about suicidal thoughts, it's a great resource just to have someone to chat with, and that you can find out more, and hopefully they can convince you that, and you know, you mentioned it as well, a great quote from Robin Williams as well, that, you know, suicide is a long-term solution to a short-term problem. And it's the truth. It 100% is, and our residents need to recognize that as seniors, they're more susceptible to these things due to all the life changes that are going on there. And we just want to make sure they're going to be okay.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for bringing this to light.
Definitely. Maureen, thank you so much for coming by today and chatting with us more about this. Don't forget, we gave a lot of phone numbers out today. If you missed any of them, you can always call us here at the studio, 410-663-3013. Or again, contact our front desks. They can point you to the correct social worker that's in charge of your building, or they can also point you to the medical center so that you can make an appointment with the mental health clinicians here at Oakcrest. Again, the phone number for the front desk here at Oakcrest, 410-665-1000. Get the opportunity to get the help that you need. And again, please, if you or anyone you know is experiencing suicidal thoughts, 1-800-273-8255 is the U.S. National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Call them. Make sure that you don't become just another statistic. Well, that's going to do it for today's show. If you missed any part of this program, we've been talking with Maureen Hulse, the manager of our social work department, about suicide and depression in seniors. We want to make sure you're staying safe and that everything is going well in your life and that you're living the best life that you possibly can.